All right, today Miss Holly's going to read Alligator Baby by Robert Munsch. One night, Kristen's mother woke up and yelled, "A baby! A baby! I'm having a baby!" Kristen's father jumped up, zoomed around the room, got dressed, and grabbed Kristen's mother by the hand. They ran downstairs to the car and drove off really fast. Vroom! Unfortunately, they got lost. They didn't go to the hospital. They went to the zoo. But it was okay. Kristen's mother had a lovely baby. Then they drove home and knocked on their front door. Blam, 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 blam. Kristen opened the door, and there was her mother holding something all wrapped up. "Kristen, would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. Kristen lifted up the bottom of the blanket. She saw a long green tail and said, "That's not a people tail." She lifted up the middle of the blanket and saw a green claw. "That's not a people claw." She lifted up the top of the blanket and saw a long green face with lots of teeth and said, "That's not a people face. That is not my brother." Just then, the baby reached up and bit Kristen's mother on the nose. "Ah!" she yelled. Then the baby reached up and bit Daddy on the nose. "Ah!" he yelled. "That's not a people baby. That's an alligator baby." "Goodness," said her mother. "We've got the wrong baby." So Kristen put the alligator baby in the fish tank, and her mother and father drove back to the zoo. They came back in an hour and knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. Kristen opened the door, and her mother said, "Kristen, would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. Kristen lifted up the bottom of the blanket, and she saw a fishy tail. "That's not a people tail." She lifted up the middle of the blanket and saw a flipper. "That's not a people flipper." Kristen lifted up the top of the blanket and saw a face with whiskers and said, "That's not a people face. That is not my baby brother." Just then the baby reached up with its flipper and flapped her daddy's face. Whap, 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 whap. "Ah!" he yelled. "It's a seal baby. We've got the wrong baby." So Kristen put the seal baby in the bathtub, and her mother and father drove back to the zoo. They came back in an hour and knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. They said, "Kristen, would you like to see your new baby brother?" "Oh, yes," said Kristen. She lifted up the bottom of the blanket and saw a very hairy leg. That's not a people leg." She lifted up the middle of the blanket and saw a very hairy arm. "That's not a people arm." She lifted up the top of the blanket and saw a very hairy face. "That's not a people face. That is not my baby brother," she said. Then the baby reached up with its feet and grabbed her mommy's ear and her daddy's ear, and they both yelled, "Ah! It's a gorilla baby! We've got the wrong baby!" "Let me do it," said Kristen. So her mother and father put the gorilla baby on the chandelier in the living room, and Kristen went off to the zoo on her bicycle. First, Kristen looked in the snake cage. No people babies. Then she looked in the wombat cage. No people babies. Then Kristen looked in the elephant cage. No people babies. Then she stopped and listened. From far away, she heard, "Wah, wah, wah." "That's more like it," said Kristen. She followed the sound. It was coming from the gorilla cage. Kristen looked at the mommy gorilla and said, "Please give me my baby brother." The gorilla jumped away and wouldn't give the baby back at all. Then the people baby reached up and bit the gorilla on the nose, and the gorilla yelled, "Arr!" and handed the baby to Kristen. Kristen jumped on her bike and pedaled home. She knocked on the door. Blam, 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 blam. When her parents opened it, she said, "Would you like to see your new baby?" "Look, it's got people legs." They lifted up the middle of the blanket and said, "Look, it's got people hands." And look, a people face. Kristen's mother picked up the baby and gave it a big hug. And her mom said, "Kristen, you got the baby back. Good for you." But what are we gonna do with all these other babies? Yelled Kristen's father. There's a seal baby in the bathtub, an alligator baby in the fish tank, and a gorilla baby hanging from the chandelier. We should take them back to the zoo. But Kristen looked out the window and said, uh-oh, I don't think we have to do anything at all. Look at all the mommies coming back for their babies. And everything was okay until Kristen's mother had twins. Thanks, guys, for letting me read to you this week.